Hello there and welcome to a brand new episode of Hala Kuwait. My name is Tariq Al-Aryan and we're coming to you from the Ministry of Information Studios right here in downtown Kuwait. And I hope everyone out there is having a great evening wherever you may be watching tonight's episode of the program. As usual, the camera crew have been very busy filming all around the state of Kuwait. We have a lot of great reports to get you caught up on tonight's episode, time permitting. And very shortly we'll be joined by a distinguished guest right here in the studio. We'll be joined by Marcos Williams, and Marcos is the chairman of the Kuwait India Business Council, and he'll be our guest coming up in about 5 minutes time. But right now we'd like to get to our first report this evening right here on Hala Kuwait, and we want to go to the ceremony of the Golden Jubilee of the Kuwait Social Association. So let's take a look at this ceremony and what took place. Stay tuned.
First of all, I would like to thank Kuwait TV, second channel, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this occasion. I'd like to congratulate Kuwait Social League at the occasion of 50 years for the establishment. I would like to say also that Kuwait Social League has contributed to the society of Kuwait in many fields, especially in the cultural fields, for it has conducted many activities in the field of culture and social activities also. I'd like to bid them congratulations and wish them all the best in the future activities. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that report, and right now we're back with our guests right here in the studio. We have with us Marcos Williams, and Marcos is the chairman of the Kuwait India Business Council. Marcos, welcome to our program Hala Kuwait, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's my pleasure too.
Nice to have you with us right here in the studio. We know you have a very busy schedule, a lot of business and social commitments, and we appreciate your time with us right here on the program. Marcos, you are the chairman of the Kuwait India Business Council. Can you tell us a little bit about the Indian Business Council, about some of your activities, when you were formed? Just a little background, please, about it.
Sure. The Kuwait India Business Council was formed in the year 2002. This arose from the need of certain individuals who decided that in view of the strong relationship which exists between Kuwait and India, we need to have a business forum which focuses on business opportunities not only in India but also in Kuwait. So we got together individuals who had business interests in India, Kuwaitis with business interests in India, Indians with business interests in Kuwait, and then we formed the Kuwait India Business Council in the year 2002. Our membership comprises of eminent professionals, business persons, and Kuwaitis with business interests or India-focused interests.
Well, Marcos, Kuwait and India have a long, very friendly, strong bilateral relationship in so many different fields, and I know this council is trying to always strengthen this already strong relationship, Marcos.
That's exactly. See, our objective is to provide a very strong platform so that people will form an informed understanding of the complexities of doing business in India. This is very critical because other than your business plans, the complexities one has to wade through, we let investors, potential business people understand these complexities by hosting seminars, inviting eminent people from India, business people who come out with their success stories, who guide us through the maze which is still India in terms of licensing, in terms of policy decisions, updating. So we do that.
Marcos, you've been in Kuwait for quite a long time, working in different, let's say, companies, your own business and so forth, and people, I'm sure, recognize you out there spending a lot of time in different business communities and so forth. So tell us a little bit about your view and your experiences that you've seen here with the Kuwait economy, in your opinion, please.
Okay. One aspect of the economy, not just limited to Kuwait, but also to the GCC countries, is whenever you speak of the economy here, people bring to the fore the prices, the oil prices which have gone down, and its impact. But having been here in Kuwait for more than 2 decades, I would say that Kuwait has, through the exercise of prudent fiscal discipline over the years, has succeeded to a very large extent not to be as affected as the rest of the oil producing countries. I will tell you, in my opinion, what it is. For example, if you look at the year 2014 when the prices crashed, you look at the 5 years prior to that, it was during this period Kuwait registered a 21% increase in its GDP, 5 years. And then if you look at from the 80s, barring that the interlude when we had this crisis with Iraq and the crash of 1988 and 89, from the 80s there has been significant increase in Kuwait's GDP, and this has been prudently deployed as external sources. And today Kuwait, by virtue of the fact that the government debt is just 14% for Kuwait, and which is a remarkable figure when compared to the rest of the world itself and the region. So with this kind of prudent fiscal discipline, Kuwait has been able to substantially withstand the onslaught of low prices. But therein again, very importantly, there has been recent decisions taken by the state of Kuwait which augurs well for the future and would definitely be a game changer. This is the constitution of 3 very critical bodies in the development plans of Kuwait. One is the Kuwait Direct Investment Promotion Authority. The second is the Kuwait Fund, which is called the National Fund for the Development of Small and Medium Scale Industries Development. So this helps Kuwaiti entrepreneurs. And another is the Kuwait Authority for Partnership Projects. This will bring private-public partnerships together. If these 3 things together in conjunction, it's going to make Kuwait a lot different and economically very strong nation.
Marcos, now the state of the Indian economy. I know there was a recent visit to the United States, I think by the president and so forth, and a lot of things going on there. So tell us a little bit more about how things are going in India when it comes to economic-wise.
As far as the Indian economy is concerned, just on the 10th of October, the IMF released its report, and India, surprisingly, the Indian economy has slowed down. This the IMF attributes to the lingering effect of two critical measures taken by the government. One is the demonetization of currency of the 1,000 and 500 rupee notes, and the second is the introduction of the goods services tax. These two have had an impact. But whereas if you look the state of the Kuwait economy, last year Kuwait economy registered 1.8%, and it is expected to be 1.5 in the next 2 years. So the stability aspect is there. But then the Indian economy is huge. It's 2.264 trillion. And there is a significant segment of not only the workforce but the population who are young. The demand for aspirational buying, as well as the fact that you have trained, available manpower, youth, are going to be the drivers of growth. So this is. But then when you look at Kuwait and India in terms of the bilateral relationship, you find that generally, as you said earlier, that we have a long history of trade, political relationships with India. I would like to point out some of the figures in the bilateral relationship. In the year 2013 to 2014, the Kuwait-India bilateral trade was at a staggering $18.21 billion.
Okay.
Now, this comprised of 17.15 billion of oil exports to India by Kuwait, and $1.06 billion of oil of 1.06% of commodity exports to Kuwait from India.
Okay.
Now this is in 2014. 3 years later, 2017, if you look at the figures, you will find the total bilateral trade has slumped to 5.95 billion from 18.21.
Why is that? That's quite a reduction.
It is. At the same time, the Indian exports to Kuwait has risen by 41.5%, whereas the Kuwait exports to India has crashed by 74%. Now, some attribute a portion of this drawback to the oil prices, but then that is not the sole criteria.
Sure.
The Indian Oil Corporation, a major state-run refiner, earlier used to purchase 200,000 barrels per day from Kuwait. They've halved that purchase. It's just now 100,000. Because today, oil has moved from a seller's perspective to a buyer's perspective. And I feel to rescue this imbalance, Kuwait has to tie in Indian companies with significant long-term deals so that the progress can be made in that respect. But if you look at the whole scenario of the bilateral trade, we have the Indian community in Kuwait, which is the largest amongst all communities of
expats here,
amounting to about 920,000. They remit $5 billion a year. The total trade amounts to only 4.45 billion.
Their remittance is more than that.
More than, and then in addition to it, Indian companies have been awarded EPC contracts to the tune of 6 billion. Now you can, make a back of the envelope calculation to see how the profits from the 6 billion is going to be repatriated again. So there is every need for a rethink on this, because all political relationships are focused towards the economic development of both countries. And this should normally be a win-win situation. So I believe Kuwait has to have a hard look at the circumstances resulting from such a drastic reduction in bilateral trade.
Well, Marcos, it was such a pleasure to have you on and talking about the numbers, the strong friendship between Kuwait and India, and of course the Kuwait-India Business Council. And we do appreciate your time with us on Hala Kuwait, and we'll definitely have to have you back on future episodes to talk a little bit more in depth about this very strong bilateral friendship between the two countries. And at the end of our interview, we'd like to thank you for being our guest.
I would like to
Sure.
I would like to quote a vision. For this, I want to get the exact words.
Sure.
I would like to quote a vision of Kuwait.
Okay.
And this vision is outlined by His Highness the Emir of Kuwait.
Okay.
So I want to stay true to the
Please,
original.
go ahead.
His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al Jaber Al Ahmed Al Sabah, has said, "The vision to transform Kuwait into a financial and trade center attractive to investors, where the private sector leads the economy, creating competition and promoting production efficiency under the umbrella of enabling government institutions, which accentuates values, safeguards social identity, and achieves human resource development, as well as balanced development, providing adequate infrastructure, advanced legislation, and an inspiring business environment."
Very nice words by His Highness the Emir to conclude this interview. Thank you, Marcos, for being our guest, and we appreciate your time and wish you and your colleagues at the Kuwait India Business Council all the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Tariq.
Thank you very much for being our guest. And right now,